Now, most of my information from this this video making actually comes from a French documentary. I think a week or so after Eloi went missing, his family actually came over to New Zealand with a French production team, and they produced a 6-part documentary, which was really good. It has lots of videos of him talking and just expressing his views on life. Yeah, he came across as really quite likeable, quite a good-looking guy as well. He just came across as there's just something about him that was really, really likeable. You know, so this is just a real tragedy for his parents. And his parents seem like good people too. You know, one of the saddest things is, with all the problems he was having, his parents had booked a ticket for him to head back to France. So, you know, in 2 or so weeks they were expecting him to be back. But unfortunately that never happened. So yeah, it's just a real tragedy when something like this happens. Now, there's a lot of background regarding this case. Now, Eloi originally came over here as an international student. He wanted to improve his English because his goal was to go back to France and study engineering at the University of Toulouse, if I'm pronouncing that right. Now, for the first 6 months, everything was great. He was travelling, making friends, clubbing, developed an infatuation with a girl that already had a boyfriend, and that caused him a few problems. But nothing untoward, nothing you wouldn't expect. When looking at his age and what 18-year-olds do, everything was going fine. Then after 6 months or so, his behaviour, his posts, and just the way he interacted with people began to change. His behaviour started becoming increasingly bizarre. He was forced to move out of his first homestay family's residence, and he moved into another one at Birkenhead, and that was the one that he went missing from, having not come back that night. Things just started going really off for him. He worked as a waiter at the Quarters Hotel in Auckland City, and he also worked as a waiter at another establishment called the Headquarters, owned by Leo Molloy, a prominent Auckland restaurateur, I think. And unfortunately, he got fired from both jobs. One of them, I think it was at the Quarters Hotel, he was running around, just screaming that he had coronavirus or something like that. I'm not 100% sure of the details because I wasn't there. I can actually only go by what I've read. But yeah, he got fired, of course. Now, and then one night, at the headquarters, the alarm went off. Somebody was in the premises. Instead of calling the police, Leo Molloy decided to go down and check out the place. Maybe he thought it was a false alarm. He wasn't really sure. He just went down to check it out, and he found Eloi actually sleeping in the office. And he knew someone was in the office because he saw the actual two pairs of shoes outside. So he walked in there and he found Eloi sleeping in the actual office, to his surprise. So he was talking to him, and at first he was quite calm. I think he just said he needed a place to sleep because he sent out a whole lot of messages to his friends and nobody wanted to help him. Nobody wanted to give him a place to stay. And after then, the conversation started going a little bit south and he started becoming more agitated. He worked for the Quarters Hotel, which is quite a prominent hotel in the middle of Auckland CBD, and he got fired from there as well. I don't actually know what he did, but I saw an interview when watching the 6-part French documentary, which you all should watch if you're interested in this case. And there's actually video footage of him being escorted out of the actual hotel. He was dressed up as a waiter, wearing all his gear. The security guard just came up to him, put his hand on his shoulder, and just escorted him out of the building. And I don't actually know what happened or what caused that. It's bizarre. So then what happened, he went outside the premises, and the security guard was, I guess, obviously following him. And this is all on video. And you see him standing outside Sky City Casino. He's like just doing this kind of rap and accusing the security guard of inventing the coronavirus, and it's just really bizarre, just really, really bizarre behaviour. So, you know, there's a lot of backstory behind this case. Now, Eloi, for an unknown reason, abruptly one evening got up and just walked out of his homestay residence where he was staying in Birkenhead. And we don't know why. We don't know why. He just didn't return that evening, which was highly, highly unusual. So he made his way from Birkenhead, and he was seen the next morning, arriving at, real early in the morning, at Britomart Central Station in Auckland. It's actually now called Waitemata. And from then, he took the train out West Auckland, eventually exiting the train at Fruitvale Station in West Auckland. Then he proceeded to walk up West Coast Road to eventually where he was last seen at around about 9:18, still in the morning, after walking about approximately 11 or so kilometres. That's a huge walk. And I want to take you on that journey from where he left his homestay residence, taking the bus, which he would have done, over the Auckland Harbour Bridge upon his arrival at the Britomart Station, and what happened after that we do not know. We do not know. I cannot say. Eloi was actually seen walking past this gas station here, this exact one, caught on CCTV. Look at the speed that he's walking. He doesn't appear to be walking that fast, does he? Now, in 52 minutes, he actually arrived at the top of Scenic Drive, okay? Now, this is not an easy walk. This is a massive hill, you know. This is, you know, I mean, having driven down here, I think it'd probably take me, if I was walking from here to the top of the Piha intersection, I honestly think it would probably take me about 2 or so hours. It's an insane walk. Not forgetting that he's actually walked all the way from the Fruitvale railway station. He walks past here, and then he walks up to the top of the Waitakere Ranges. Just my personal opinion, I think he had some help. So he's walked down this road. This is a little car park at the beginning of the Upper Taku Dam. Here we are at Piha. Now, one thing I want to talk about is the car crash hypothesis. Now, here's the thing. Eloi was seen at the top of Piha Scenic Drive around about 9:15. Now, the question we got to ask ourselves is, did he get hit by a car? I say no, I don't think so. On a Saturday, why I say that is, you look at the amount of traffic that's going down the road back and forth, there's just no way, not in a million years, if he got hit by a car, that driver would have actually had a chance, an opportunity to stop, freaking out at just seeing what's happened. There's this guy, on the end of the road, and when he gets out of his car, ascertains what's just happened. You got all this traffic on a Saturday going forward and back to Piha. Honestly, the guy wouldn't have had time. He just wouldn't have had time. And then someone says, like, oh, okay, would have pulled him into the bushes, or, got out of his car, put him into the bushes. Nah, wouldn't have had time. It wouldn't have happened. He couldn't have even pulled him into the back of the car and drove him away, which would explain why no one actually found his body. But I don't think so. So I think we can discount this one totally. Stop. Okay. Now the next question we got to ask ourselves, and this is something we must consider. Did he intentionally make himself disappear? He was actually sighted in a caravan park in Te Anau in the South Island by a woman who was working at the reception. She was French herself, and she swore almost 100%, and this woman seemed very, very believable, that the person she saw checking into the campground that day was Eloi, and he was accompanied by someone else, and they didn't seem like they were close friends or knew each other that long. So did he meet someone at Piha? Was that person a traveller? Did they then embark on a trip down to the South Island? Did the lady working at the campground actually see Eloi and this other traveller together? Did some altercation of sorts take place? It's possible. If you look at she was actually interviewed by the French team that produced the 6-part documentary, and she sounded really, really believable. So I don't think we can really discount that. I think there's an actual real possibility that that person that she saw was Eloi. And she said she recognised him because his middle name was Jean, Eloi Jean Rolland, and she said her grandfather's name was Jean as well. And yeah, so it's just something we must consider. It's a real possibility. Let's leave everything open. So the question we got to ask ourselves is, did Eloi actually make it to Piha? Did he have some help along the way? Somebody saw him riding I think it was some sort of scooter or something like that, and was reasonably convinced who they saw was him when looking at the photo. I mean, there are so many different probabilities in this case, and I don't really think we can discount any of them. I mean, it's just difficult to say. It's just a tragedy. I just can't overstate the tragedy that this has caused his family. Apparently they've been back to New Zealand quite a few times, and unfortunately he still hasn't been found. Not a single trace of him. So all we can do is hope that sometime in the future they can get some resolution, whatever that may be. So here we find ourselves again at the Lower Dam. When Al arrived at the Britomart station early that Saturday morning, for reasons unbeknown to us, he changed his Facebook page to black. And what does that mean? I mean, it could mean that he signifies he's going off the grid. It could be a reflection of his mental state, how he was feeling at the time. It's really difficult to say what was going through his head at the moment. We don't know, but I don't think we can. I don't think it necessarily signifies that he's wanting to take his own life either. I mean, it's just really, really hard to know exactly what his mental state was at that time. He could have actually been quite happy and looking forward to that day later arriving in Piha Beach. I mean, he made such a long walk. I mean, there must have been something for him at the end of it, some form of kind of emotional attachment. I mean, I feel he'd previously travelled to Piha, and I think on a certain level he was quite endeared towards the place. Being that, from looking at his history, he had a natural affinity. He had a natural affinity to water sports. I mean, he used to be into sailing and that in France, from what I've read. So it's just really, really hard to say whether he actually arrived at Piha, got in a car, went off track, got lost, fell off a bluff, down a cliff, and ended up somewhere there. You may find there's a very strong chance if he did go off the bush in this area here. The outer perimeters of the Lower Dam have not been searched, so if that actually did happen, you know, Eloi would, somewhere would be out there somewhere, sometime to be discovered in the future, which would bring some closure to his family, for better for worse. Okay, here we find ourselves at the Lower Dam, and if you look down here, you will see this spillway. Ooh. Okay, now I'm kind of scared of heights, so this makes me feel really, really uncomfortable, but the show must go on. So now, if Eloi did walk off Piha Road and he headed south, you would find that there's a high chance, if he got lost in the bush, that he would be somewhere up around here. Right? If we go about a mile or so up there, you'll find Piha Road. I mean, if you just walk straight up there a k and a half, you'd find Piha Road. Now, if Eloi decided for whatever reasons to walk off into the bush, and he got lost, dehydrated, he wasn't thinking clearly, fell down a cliff, I don't know, that's where he would be. And this area, as far as I know, hasn't actually been searched. So I don't know. I think there's a high probability he could be somewhere down there. I don't think he walked up to the top of Piha Road by himself. I think he had some help. Now that person may have just been completely innocent, but after seeing that the kid that hopped in his car that he gave a lift to the top of the road is now missing. He just didn't want to call the police. He didn't want to get involved because he was the last person to see him alive, and maybe the guy just has the fear of somehow being implicated in his disappearance. Beautiful Auckland City, as you can see over there, the Sky Tower, and if you look in the distance over there, you will see the Waitakere Ranges, which is the area we are primarily focusing upon. As you can see, we're at the front, the entrance of Auckland Harbour. Beautiful place it is. Now, I want to talk about hypotheticals here. I think Eloi had some help getting to the top of Piha Road. He's dropped off. I don't think the guy took up to the road, didn't want to be implicated in his disappearance, so I just feel he didn't come forward to the police. Because Eloi was actually spotted. He was actually spotted, remember, walking down the road, walking down Piha Road, and he wasn't seen with anyone else. He got up there and in 52 minutes from when he was seen walking past the mobile gas station, and you look at the actual speed he was walking at, he wasn't running. 52 minutes later he's seen by a witness at 9:15 at the intersection of Scenic Drive. There's just no way. Someone took him up to the top of the hill. Then I think he proceeded to walk down Piha Road. Somebody picked him up by Frog Rock. If he had proceeded to walk down Piha Road to the Piha township by himself, there would have been so many witness sightings. The last person to see him, he was seen at Frog Rock, so he must have been picked up somewhere around that area. I think probably by a traveller or someone who had some sort of rental accommodation there. Maybe he went outside, played around with an electric scooter, where so there's a witness in Piha that said they saw him wearing the clothes he was wearing, riding an electric scooter in the Piha township. And I think he went back into the house. Some sort of argument took place. Something bad went down. And, yep, that's what happened. Then I think whoever that tourist was got on a plane, headed back to Australia or something like that. I don't believe it to be a local. Might have happened that way, might not have happened that way. It's just a probability. And it's something I think that needs to be discussed. Thirsty. How much water did he bring? What was his mental state at the time? What if he decided to walk down? Well, he was just thirsty as hell. And he walks past the sort of sign that says Lower Nai Tapu Dam. And then he just decides he thinks, all he's thinking about is water and getting a drink, and then he decides to walk down to that path. And maybe he got lost in the bushes, even though the track's actually clearly marked. I mean, it's just something that needs to be considered. Maybe he walked into the bushes, got lost. His motivation for walking down was actually to get a glass of water. How much water did he bring? I mean, if I walked 11 kilometres or so, I'd be pretty thirsty. Here's the deal, this is what I think. So he's walking down the bushes, walking down towards the dam. Maybe he's dehydrated. Maybe his mental state is questionable, and he just decides to take a detour into the bushes and he gets lost. I mean, it's a possibility. Maybe he did walk off into the bush. Maybe he was actually walking down Piha Road and he just decided to take a left or a right into the bush. Which, it seems a little bit unnatural, doesn't it? You've got a clear sort of road ahead of you, and your plan for that day is to go to Piha to get some, I think he wanted to get some sand for his mum, because remember, in 2 weeks, he had a trip, he had a flight booked for him, to go back to France. And I think I read in a conversation with his mother that she wanted him to bring a bit of sand back, and that was one of his motivations for going to Piha. There could be some truth in that. I don't really know, but all I'm saying is he actually had an intent. There's a method to his madness. He wanted to go to Piha. He didn't, that morning, I don't believe he when he boarded that train, he had anything else in mind. I mean, this guy, Eloi, actually wanted to go to Piha Beach, even though a lot of his planning was highly questionable. So, when considering this, I mean, we have to factor this into his mindset. He's made it as far as Piha Road, okay? So then why would he, you know, he's got a clear road in front of him, just take a left into this thick bush? It just seems unnatural. I don't know. I think somebody picked him up. I think he made it to Piha. That just makes sense. You know, that's what he had his heart set on. He was heading back to France. He was heading to Piha with purpose. And, you know, I don't think he's in the bush. I was looking at a police media conference because the case got a lot of coverage, a lot of publicity at the time. And what the policeman said was like cadaver dogs were employed to search the whole area, both sides of the actual road. Now here's the thing, didn't find anything. I did a little bit of research to find it, you know, what was the actual sniffing range of a cadaver dog, but as far as I can see, it's about 1.5 kilometres. It can be a long distance. They found nothing. So if you walked into the bush, you know, he wouldn't be, you know, this is thick bush. You're not going to be walking in a straight line. You may think you are, but you don't even know your point of destination. You know, you've got no sense of direction. You could actually be walking around in circles. Maybe he walked down the actual dam track because he was thirsty and needed some water, and from the dam he decided to embark on some other journey. Maybe then, possibly, he could be 2 or so kilometres from Piha Road, out of the range of the dogs. It's a possibility. It's just something that we need to consider. Now here we find ourselves at Piha on a beautiful Saturday, November 2025. Now, if Eloi had actually made it to Piha, this is where he would have found himself. As you can see, there's a lot of people around here too. It's quite a prominent tourist spot. And remember, his reason for coming to Piha was to pick up some sand, you know, for his mother, because 2 weeks later he had a plane ticket booked for him. Whew. And he was heading back to France. Whether he actually made it to Piha or not, who can say? My feeling is he did. What actually happened, what actually went down, how and exactly what transpired, I do not know. I cannot say. But it is what it is, and let's hope at some point in the future Eloi's family, I should say, can get some closure. That might entail finding out what actually happened, or who knows in what form that could take. But my heart goes out for them, it really does. And anyone who watching this, who is watching this and who is associated with this case, my heart goes out to them too. And my heart goes out to you as well. Thank you for watching this video.